Welcome to the Emotional Endurance Movement. This week's episode is dedicated to your weird Valentine. You're a catch. You're officially my favorite human. I'm totally hooked on you. We were meant to be, no doubt about it. You make my heart go glub glub. I'd cross 7 seas and 1 sketchy tide pole for you. You're the only one I want in my school. I love you so flippin' much. You're fantastic. Our love is deeper than whatever's lurking in the Marina Trench. Mariana Trench. I'm not coy. You're my Valentine. I'd swim upstream emotionally for you. You're my soulmate. God help me, I adore you. You have me at blub blub blub. I'd choose you over Red Lobster's unlimited shrimp. The Cheddar Bay biscuits, though, is a more complicated situation. Happy Valentine's! Welcome to the Emotional Endurance Movement, the only mental health comedy game show curious enough to ask, what part of you is still waiting to earn permission to relax, to celebrate, to take up space? This week is about that feeling that is often quiet within us, but that we want to rev up a little bit more because it secretly runs your life. That feeling is being worthy or worthiness. So let's go. Before we get into it, I want to introduce our perennial contestant, our behaviorist at large, and someone who just celebrated their birthday. It's Crimson McDonald.
Howdy.
I also want to introduce you, the viewer at home. Yes, you, the one who downplays compliments like it's an Olympic sport. You're our other perennial contestant. You show up each week, take the survey, let us know how you're feeling, become part of the movement, and together we all try and learn how to stay regulated in a mostly dysregulated. Learn how to stay regulated in a dysregulating world. And shocker, we have a little bit of fun while we do it. And now it's time to hear our emotional weather report, where Crimson's going to let us know what exactly is in the air emotionally for the movement and how we can best take care of ourselves this week. Let's hear it.
Thank you, Lori. For people that have listened before, we had a different survey. If you took the survey this week, you might have noticed we made some changes because Lori and I brought in our proprietary emotional endurance inventory. If you participated, you got a preview of our inventory and you didn't get the results. But we aggregate those, and that's what you're looking at today. So let's look at our movement and how they're scoring on their emotional inventory. 54%. What does 54% mean? That means they're not in a catastrophic range. They're functioning, but they're watching for the sky to fall. And that's the vibe we're getting when we look at where the pressure's coming in. So when we look at what is bringing down that emotional endurance score, we are seeing hope and optimism trending down. Now, without hope and optimism, it is extremely hard to stay endurant. And these are times where it's really hard to stay hopeful and optimistic. But luckily, looking at our movement, you guys do feel like you have the resilience and the self-efficacy to get through what's coming. So really what we need to think about and what we're seeing here is that there's a lot of dread. We are scared of what's to come or scared of the uncertainty. And while we believe in our abilities to get through it, I get the impression we just don't want to have to. We are showing up dysregulated at work. And then when it comes to our finances and health, we are just over it. We are with sick kids, sick family members, the cost of groceries, and the constant demands of our work life. So when we see a low emotional endurance score and we see hope and optimism really running down, we know our cups are empty and we are not able to show up as our best selves where it matters, which really is at work. And with health and finances, you have no control over health. That's something we have to learn how to be resilient through. And ultimately, finances are going to be a chronic stressor. So let's talk about ways that we can release some pressure from the whole adulting thing that we're going through. So what's filling our cups? How are we filling those cups, and what's the hope and optimism cups going to be filled with? You guys are exercising and vegging out. This is hilarious. We've got a 50-50 basically going here. Half of us are working that energy out. We're sweating. We're saying we don't know what tomorrow holds, but at least I'm going to get my workout in. And then the rest of us are kind of numbing out, vegging out. We have to be mindful of the fact that sometimes filling our cup and vegging out as a way of doing that is healthy. Not all coping skills are unhealthy at all times. There are times when it's okay to say, you know what? I'm not going to do the dishes. I am going to go watch an episode of TV and completely veg out or scroll on TikTok for 20 minutes. The point is that you're aware you are doing those things to refill your cup and not to escape or avoid the realities that you need to face. So for those exercising, you're getting a double win because your body's getting payoff. And for those vegging out, don't feel shame. Just make sure it's intentional and keep intentionally vegging out and keeping that to a good time constraint. So what do we have to look forward to? So now with our new survey, we're asking you, what are you dreading? And it's not shocking that you're concerned about work and finances. You are struggling to find hope and optimism that it's going to get better. So our advisory is lean into the things that bring you joy and fill your cup. If that's exercising, or what I would recommend is diversify your skills and maybe find other ways. Maybe work out, then hang out with friends, and then vegetate for a little bit. Diversify your coping skills and what's filling your cup. Because what we're really doing is spending a lot of our emotional energy on just dreading what's to come. When we're low in hope and optimism, dread kind of comes with that. So look for the systems that mitigate the challenges with work, that mitigate the challenges with your finances. Attacking anxiety about those things is sometimes having a plan, but mostly just don't dread it. Don't ruminate on it and be intentional in your coping. And hopefully next week will be better.
Right. It's now time for our insight of the week. Our insight comes to us from Steve Maraboli. When I accept myself, I am freed from the burden of needing you to accept me. Crimson.
You seek self-approval when you don't have approval from within. I mean, insecurity shows, and he's absolutely nails it by saying that once you accept yourself, you don't need acceptance from others. Once you are content in your own skin, you don't need validation from others.
Totally. And we spend a lot of time, and our culture reinforces getting this validation from others, this acceptance for others. We can't just completely cross it across the board and say, this isn't important, because it is important. But what's interesting about his quote that I really like is his use of the word burden here.
Yes.
Because when I read, I was like, oh, crap, that is a burden. That actually really sucks.
I see it being something that holds a lot of people back, the need for external validation to feel accepted. And you see this starting at a young age. We have a systematic thing called school and public institutions, college, all of them, that do make you feel that you need to be accepted and part of the herd. It goes back to our most inherent desire as humans, which is to be part of your tribe and to fit into the tribe. That's all based on survival. These are still our behaviors coming back from our Neanderthal selves that feels like we have to be accepted because through acceptance we're protected. But in our modern world, you need to be freed from the burden of being accepted to feel safe. And it's interesting
It's
how
from the
world
burden
switched.
of like seeking that acceptance to feel safe, right?
Right.
It's just not a very effective way to get your needs met, to outsource them.
No, the only appropriate time is when you're a child. This is part of a parent's responsibility, showing unconditional acceptance of their child so they know they're free to accept themselves. But outside of that relationship, this is really on us as individuals to accept ourselves, to love ourselves, and to not rely on others. And to rely on others for acceptance can create some destructive relationships and behavioral patterns.
Absolutely.
So thanks, Steve.
Now we're going to move into our show and tell for the week, which is, of course, our worthiness edition. So, weird, strange, niche, secret things that we have done to help us cope and to help us bring a little bit more worthiness to our lives and to really anchor ourselves in our own self-worth. And mine, I'm going to start with mine because mine's kind of surprising, and I don't think it's probably true for most people. Not sure how I got so lucky to be able to tell you what I'm about ready to tell you next. So this picture right here is me when I was like 8 months pregnant with my second one. You can see my first one, who's not even a year old, in the picture too, and my husband. I am like very pregnant here. I would like to say that that's why I was wearing flamingo Crocs, but the truth is I've continued to wear them long beyond the pregnancy. I have just fully committed to my weird, strange flamingo Crocs. But anyway, that's a story for another time. I had the experience of I actually felt so much better, so much mentally, like I felt mental health wise during my pregnancies were some of my best times, which I know is wild to a lot of people. I consider myself incredibly lucky. I also think it's the reason I survived back-to-back pregnancies in a pandemic is that uh things were not things were good in my body. And prior to getting pregnant, I had a really fractured relationship with my body, not a good relationship at all. But something about being pregnant, I think this is what helped my mental health and what helped me grow my worthiness through this, is that when you're pregnant, you really have to go like, okay, like there are so many things happening within me and outside of me that are outside my control. And I really have to focus on what's in my control. And during that period of time, kind of having to take that control off of my body because my body knew what it was doing. It was baking up babies, right? I really became in awe of my body. And it took me from a very combative relationship where I demoted myself and my worth because of my relationship, my body, to a much more anchored space of being like, wow, my body did that. That was incredible, and really appreciating my body in a way that had never happened to me before in my life. I am so much more confident on the other side of having my two kids, not necessarily as a parent, because I think we're all learning, us parents, that coping with parenthood is an ongoing up and down cycle. But overall, like I feel so much more worthiness, particularly around my body and my identity and how I physically show up as I went through that experience. And I know that's like antithetical to a lot of people. Like it's hard to imagine. And I really have to get on here and say that, like, please, I know how privileged I was to have this experience, especially 2 times. And it wasn't that there wasn't hardship and challenge in my pregnancies. There were. It's just I found myself actually a lot better able to cope. And I had very rigid understanding of like what was in my control, what wasn't in my control, and understanding that part of getting through this process of pregnancy and delivering and probably even parenthood now that I'm here is surrendering to the fact that you're into Pandora's box. You do not know what's going to come. And getting more comfortable with that and understanding the process that my body went through to ultimately end up at the end of this goal and to then, be a mom, is that I am equipped and empowered and in ways that like I don't even fully understand. And that has really improved my relationship with myself because it's no longer about this like will to control. It's about this ability to surrender. And that's where I found my worth.
It's amazing. Having body self-worth is so important, especially in the age of Ozempic and weight loss drugs. And I mean, I could barely watch Wicked due to the amount of bones protruding from skin. And that's really hard to watch and stay confident and believe in yourself. So good job, Lori. Proud of you, girl.
Thanks. Do you have one to share?
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right, Lori. My self-worth story. And this one, you know so well because it's such a defining characteristic of me. Um, I did not get into law school, and not just law school, like a law school. Like I was denied every law school in the country that I applied to except the top 20, which I obviously did not apply to because I knew I couldn't get into those. Um, I, at 11 years old, knew that I was going to be a lawyer. I was going to defend the Constitution. I was going to go work corporate law for 10 years, put my time in, make a bunch of money, move to DC, and go be an activist for the Constitution. And I mean, it was mapped out, all planned. I was smart enough. I worked hard enough. I believed if I did everything right, it just happened because that's just the narrative, right? Like you get the good grades, you get the good test scores, you get what you want. So I did everything. And everyone around me got into law school with the same GPAs, the same LSAT scores. And the thing that I had that no one else had in my graduating class is I had worked at a law firm for 4 years. So not only was I committed to the profession, but I actually, unlike most of those people who I will note, most of them do not practice law at this point in time. I knew why I wanted to be in law, what the day-to-day life was. And I would like to say, and I'm confident in saying this now, that I was probably more qualified than most students that applied, but I didn't make it. I went into some of my darkest days. I felt unworthy to be on this planet. Everything I had worked for, my entire identity, my entire self-worth was gone within, I can't say a minute because it took a couple of months to get like declined from every law school. And to make things better, then I spent a whole year trying to get into law school exclusively to only fail for a second time. So, it took me to a really dark place. I ended up working at Ipsos. I ended up going to grad school for political science, doing market research at Ipsos using my research experience, and I hated it. And I feel like, honestly, my career kind of turned into wherever I landed is what I did. But where I found the worth is I had a kid and I had time to take a step back and think about my life. And I realized that the reason I wanted the law degree was I wanted to be an advocate. I wanted to sit at the tables where decisions were being made that made people's lives better. I wanted to commit time to my community. I wanted to serve my community. I wanted so many things that I felt the law degree gave me the worth to do. I saw the law degree as that was my ticket to be at the table, to be in the room, to be a leader, to be a community organizer, to be a mentor, and to be all these things that I had pictured me doing with my life. And it really took, and oddly, very much like you after having kids, right? For me after having my first, when I realized I don't need the piece of paper. I don't need to be a lawyer. I don't need these credentials. I am a successful woman that's made great decisions, has amazing academic experience, great work experience. I can go advocate for what I want to advocate for. I can go do all of those things I wanted to do without the piece of paper and I don't really know why I felt that piece of paper is what gave me permission to believe in myself or to feel worthy to be in the rooms that I now find myself in. And honestly, if people ask me, are you going to go to law school now? And my comeback always is, if you got $100,000 to send me to law school, like I have other things I could be doing with that money. To do what I want to do, which is to advocate for people I love, to spend time in my community, lifting people, to mentor younger people. And I get to do all of that. I didn't need the law degree. I was worthy. So worthiness is a interesting concept when you come from a traumatic background too, because if you've never had anyone tell you you're worth something, it's hard to believe in yourself. And I was lucky I had that in college. I had a mentor, as you know, Lori, someone I'm still consider a mentor, and he believed in me and told me I was worthy. And then he was wrong because I didn't get in law school. He failed me.
He
But
wasn't wrong. You still had worth. That was your whole story. You just told us about how you still have
but in
worth.
that moment, you don't feel it. It took
Yeah, I get
time to
that. I do
reflect
get that.
back and realize that I had made an artificial requirement to my
Yeah.
worthiness. I had set completely artificial.
Conditions. It was
I set
conditional
conditions.
worthiness. Yeah.
My worthiness was conditional on my ability to be accepted to law school, to get the piece of paper, to check those boxes. And you don't have to. And the joke's on all of us because most of those people do not practice law. I think are like highest achievers of vet tech. And she also runs a nonprofit that advocates and lobbies for wildlife refugees. So, again, all of it was stemmed from, I think people have a passion. You think that's the path. And it was just a very long path to realize my worth did not come from the piece of paper. My worth came from my work and my work ethic and commitment to my community. So, lesson learned the long and hard way.
Well, I have heard that story before, and I know that's a big part of, your journey and how you see yourself and the growth you've exhibited. But now I have to ask you a super important question. It's just a really important question, which is, how do you feel about Kim Kardashian trying to become a lawyer?
Kind of think that like if I lived in California still, I would totally Kim this shit. Cause
Yeah,
like you just have to pass the bar and it's the hardest bar. So I'm not
it
like
is. Yeah.
acting and I'm a horrible test taker. So like I'm not acting as though I could just like gallivant over to California and take the test and pass.
Bingo, bango,
Um,
past the bar.
but I think if Kim Kardashian wants to, I mean, she's my age. Uh, and her worth stems from a very specific attribute that is hard to keep together as we age. So I think she should diversify her worthiness and equity in society.
And do whatever she wants to build herself up. I get it.
I think that's good for her. That's good for
Well,
her.
I do, I mean, there is arguments to be made that like in the legal field, there's not as much of a opportunity for like sub licensure. So
Mhm.
like in my field, in healthcare, we of course have doctors, which are the top of the pack, and then advanced practice nurses, RN, registered nurses, and then people like me that have like ancillary licenses. So I'm like a professional counselor. We've got PTs, OTs. I mean, everything you want, right? And the whole idea is that we're better able to serve people because different licensure levels allow different practitioners to come in and specialize. And one critique I have heard that does make the Kim Kardashian, not necessarily, I don't really care if she does it or not, but I'm interested in the fact that California has a vehicle to allow people to get the JD independently. But, well, I guess they wouldn't get a JD. They would just pass the bar. I'm saying that wrong. They would not earn the JD. They would just pass the bar.
And they could never practice outside of California.
They can never practice.
Right.
Like there's limitations. But one of the things I've heard about the legal industry that just with my limited exposure to it does strike true is this idea that there's no like lesser licensure levels or practitioner levels. And that can prevent people who need to get access to legal services from being able to do so. So I do think systems like that are interesting to me. And I do wonder if we'll see more states take up systems like that if there is a push for more people to have access to legal services, which I don't know. There's been a push for more people to have access to healthcare services. And so that's what's happened with my field. But it's just an observation from the Kim K situation and law school in general is that it seems like there's a missing step there. There's a missing level of licensure or practitioner that the system really could utilize.
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, the legal field is one that has not evolved significantly. I joke with AI now. I should totally go to law school because I can knock that shit out so fast. And they wouldn't even know because, they're so behind in technology in the legal field that like I could run them circles,
So it's funny you say that because Kim Kardashian actually blamed the fact that she didn't pass this time on ChatGPT because she said ChatGPT gave her the incorrect answers.
I mean, absolutely. That's what I mean. Like, because I feel like I would know how to leverage it. And, I feel like I would be ahead of the game of how to have the tools to like excel.
Well, I'm glad that you don't want to go to law school because I think you just put yourself on blast that you would be a fraudulent student.
I mean, at this point, like I said, it's a piece of paper. I mean, I hate to say it that
Exactly.
way. It is
Unless you really want to practice law.
right. And go
Yes. Yeah.
litigate cases and go. And
Yeah.
I hate to say it again. I know I talk to my attorneys way less often with ChatGPT. It's not that I trust it with 100% accuracy, but what used to be I'll email the lawyer is now a ChatGPT discussion.
To find out if you need to email the lawyer or what you should be saying
Right.
when
And
you are
so
asking. Yeah.
I think that field is in for a huge evolution, and it may not be what it was before. But at the end of the day, I will say the blessing from above that was given to me by not becoming an attorney is that even though I spent my 20s working 80 hours a week and doing the grind that I would have done if I did the corporate attorney thing, the biggest difference was that in advertising, you get to wear jeans and dress cute. You don't have to wear pantsuits. So I got to avoid pantsuits altogether. So, like, total win. I got to dress cute at work. I have never been tied to a clock in the sense that, like, I have meetings and stuff, but not like a court date, not like a hearing date, not like a trial date. Like, I've had such a flexible life in my career, and it is such a privilege. Like, I think about my friends that are like hospital administrators or attorneys, like almost every field, licensed therapists. Like, you have appointments, you have to be somewhere, you have like, I have had like the weirdest career journey that has kept me out of a cubicle and kept me um active and experiencing cool different things. So as much as I think I could have done a really lot of good things in this world if I would have had that piece of paper and gotten into those rooms earlier and felt worthy earlier, my life would have been so different. But I also am past the 40 point, and I can say I've had a pretty flexible life.
Yeah.
I've gotten to explore a lot of fun stuff. I've gotten to dabble in a lot of different fields, and to your point with your field, you get so much diversity in who comes in as an occupational therapist, who comes in on childhood development, who comes in from very clinical experiences. Like, you have some diversity in law. There, I mean, it's you're pushing papers. I mean, it's not a diverse field. And so I feel lucky that I've gotten to work with a lot of diverse people.
Absolutely. Well, I am going to give you 444 points in honor of our local injury attorney, Blake Maislin, at 444 4444. I appreciate you bringing the legal stuff. We kind of been talking about it, like that was going to come up at some point in time. So I appreciate you sharing. And I also appreciate that you're not a lawyer. You would definitely wouldn't be like slumming it here with me doing this if you were a practicing lawyer. So it all worked out in the end.
Like I said, everyone that went to law school, none of them are practicing. So I probably would have ended up right here anyway. But with a lot more student loan debt.
Now, with more student loan debt.
And Lori, I am going to give you 122 pounds because you will always be 122 pounds at heart.
Where did 102 come from?
I don't know. It just seems like an ideal number for anyone.
Oh.
I mean, if you weighed 122 pounds, you'd be really skinny.
More meat on the bone.
Yeah, you'd be really kind of gross at 122
I was like,
at your
no,
height.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But anyway, you know what? I don't actually care. I feel good. And that is the metric. So thank you. Now we're going to move on to a word from our feeling of the week. Our feeling of the week this week is worthy, or the experience of having worthiness. Worthy happens when your nervous system stops looking for a reason to deny yourself. When you're not hustling for permission, when you let yourself take up space without performing. Worthy sounds like I don't have to prove myself to anyone. I can make mistakes and still belong. It's nice to be a little different. I feel grounded and authentic. And ultimately, worthiness is deeply regulating because when we feel worthy, we feel safe within ourselves. Feeling worthy is not arrogance, it's nervous system safety. And it's a feeling that a lot of us put conditions on. Worthiness is an important emotion. It grounds you, it helps you know that you are enough and that you exist in a state of unconditional positive regard. You exist in a state of value. And there's nothing that anyone can do to take away that value. I'm going to read what Bad Bunny said to all of us in Spanish at the end of his Super Bowl show. I'm here at the 60th Super Bowl because I never stopped believing in me. And you should believe in yourself too. You are more valuable than you think. Believe me. And I love that was the end of his show because I do think his story and the narrative and everything that they brought to the show, which was so cool. And there's so much to unpack there, right? But I think the ultimate narrative of it, at least what I took away, is the worthiness of every single one of us. And at the end of the show, he also held up a football that said, "Together we are America." Is what the football. That brings us to our first mini game, which is We Are Not Worthy. This is an absurd game that we put together because oftentimes with worthiness, we struggle to see our own worth and value. It is good to sometimes have your friend hype you up and let you know just how worthy you are. So you're going to watch me and Crimson be each other's hype people and tell each other why they're so worthy in the most absurd way possible. All right. Let's see here. Crimson, you are so worthy that motivational posters quietly resign when you enter the building.
It's just their hate for me, given my shitty corporateart.com. Okay, Lori.
It's true.
You are so worthy. Your nervous system apologizes before it even dysregulates.
It's like, sorry to do this to you, but we're doing it.
Yeah, it's gone.
Crimson, if your worthiness were currency, economists would stop publishing reports and just gesture vaguely in your direction.
You are so worthy that burnout files a grievance before it even approaches you.
All right. Crimson, you're so worthy that mirrors actually say, honestly, thank you for letting me participate when they see you.
You're so worthy. You send a "I'm just checking in" text, but actually mean it.
It's true. It's true about me. It's totally true. All right, let's see. I got a few yours. Crimson, your worthiness has its own walk-on music and a lighting designer who whispers, "This is the moment."
Oh my God, that would be so fun if someone followed me around like that. I wish I really was that worthy.
It's now, Crimson. Go for it. Mail the package. Buy the stamps. Get your groceries.
Lori, you're so worthy. You sent your business partner a piece of toast to toast to her birthday.
It's true. It's true. I did do that. It was cute, right? It goes well with your positive pickle, right?
I have a pause and a pickle, and now I have a piece of toast. But do you know the joke of like what toast symbolizes for me and Taylor? Like, do you know the toast joke
No.
between Taylor and I? Because
No,
Taylor
tell me
saw it
more.
and he was like, okay, so when we started dating in like, I don't know, forever ago, but like I would say in like 2006, 2007, we started getting serious. We were watching Bill Maher, who, I mean, I don't care your opinions. I think he's a total sleazeball, but I still watch him. But he was talking about how he would never get married because, you know, you can love toast, but like, why would you wake up every morning and have the same piece of toast when you could like have pumpernickel, you can have sourdough, you can have wheat, you can have seedy, you can have oat, I mean, the world of toast is so diverse that he's like, why would I wake up and have the same piece of toast? So Taylor and I joked about that still to this day, that like we're each other's piece of toast. Like we opted in.
Did my toast overstep a boundary?
No, it's hilarious. It totally fits within the world. It was just funny because it's like Taylor and I joke about being each other's piece of toast because of the stupid stand-up thing we saw 20, like literally 20 years ago. And yeah, so it was cute to get a piece of toast in the mail.
Aw, well, I'm glad you liked it. No, I didn't know that story. That's cute. That's really cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I think we're making you a whole like positivity sandwich. Like we've
Yeah.
got the toast, we got the pickle. I don't know what else is coming next, but like
Oh, yeah.
I have idea. I went to Polished in Hamilton today, it's Polished / Scripted. It's a mother-daughter store. They've got a nail salon in the back, and then like the cutest little like stationary gift store in the front. And I actually saw some things that might be going with your collection for Christmas.
Yay.
So yeah, you're building the positivity sandwich.
I love it. I love it. Let's keep doing it.
All right, Crimson. Well, I gotta tell you, I'm giving you 1,002 points on that one because you brought some really good ones. They had me laughing out loud. We struggled to come up with a good game for Worthy, but we knew we had to include Wayne's World.
I mean, and this ridiculous AI graphic that I made, and everyone has to be exposed to now. But Lori, I am going to give you 1,000 points for actually coming up with a game that we could settle on.
Yay!
Letting me use my ridiculous Wayne's World graphic.
All right. Okay. Now for a word from our coping skill of the week, radical acceptance. Radical acceptance, which really is radical. It is a much better way to live your life. But I understand why you're already rolling your eyes at me, because people often believe that radical acceptance means that you have to like something. You have to approve of something. You have to somehow co-sign on something. And the truth is that you can accept something without liking it. And this doesn't mean that you're giving up or stopping the fight or not dealing with reality. It means accepting something as it is, surrendering to it versus trying to control or change it or run away from it. It means stopping yourself from actually fighting what is and learning how to deal with what is. It's saying, this is what's happening, this is what I feel, this is where I'm actually am, or this is not where I should be, and this is something that I need to pay attention to. When you start arguing with yourself, you're really arguing with yourself with your nervous system. You're really arguing with your nervous system. You're saying that I am not going to deal with this lemon that life has given me. And the thing is that lemon, you're just kicking it down the road by either trying to control it or to avoid it. Or you can learn how to actually pick the lemon up, squeeze it, and make some lemonade out of it. And that's what really acceptance is. It's just acknowledging that the thing is there so that you can take the next step of transforming that thing into something else. Acceptance is not surrender. It's traction. It actually helps to ground you in what is so that you can better show up and take care of yourself while you're dealing with whatever the reality around you consists of. Radical acceptance is truly radical. It will change your life. And you'll be surprised when you really start to think about it, how many things in your life you're trying to control or change versus accepting them. And acceptance will give you way more peace than controlling or avoiding or influencing anything else will. Although, to be fair, there are times when trying to control the situation, avoid the situation, and accept are all the correct answer. You have to do the hard work of reading between the lines to figure out which tool to use when. But I promise you, radical acceptance, especially radically accepting yourself as human and radically accepting the humans around you, will bring you so much peace and ease just simply by taking the time to let go of the control and allow what is to be. And that's all from this week's word. That's all from this week's skill of the week. Now we're going to play a new game called Control, Avoid, and Accept. I'm going to name situations, and both Crimson and I are going to respond about what our initial reaction is. Now remember, sometimes trying to control a situation is the right choice to make for you. Sometimes trying to avoid is the right situation. Oftentimes, acceptance is really where you're going to end up in the long term. So control and avoid may be the appropriate tool to use in the short term, or we might just skip to where we're inevitably going, which is acceptance. So let's get into it. And our first statement is, your flight is canceled because of weather. What are you going to do?
I'm sorry. It was control, avoid, and what?
Accept.
Okay, start over.
Your flight is canceled because of weather.
Accept.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too. I mean, if it's weather, like what realistically can we do?
Yeah, I mean, I can complain the whole time. That could happen too, but
that is something that could happen a long time with
but
accepting
that's
it.
in
Although
coping skills, so
acceptance really happens when we stop wishing something were different. So that's how we can tell internally if we've accepted something. I think for those of us that have had intense traumas that we've dealt with over multiple years or even decades, in my case, you do get to a point where you're like, okay, I understand that it's not that I would want that to happen to me again or want that to happen to anyone else again, but I understand, I accept the role that this trauma has taken in my life. And by doing so, I'm able to see the things that have grown in spite of it, right? Not necessarily and because of it. We're not trying to do some like toxically positive, like everything happens for a reason stuff. But when you go through trauma, you do see parts of you grow. There is this growth, post-trauma growth is a real thing. And so really allowing yourself to see those things only happens when you learn to accept the trauma itself. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. 5 minutes before you go on stage, the tech fails. What do you do?
control.
I would say control too, but I think that depending how the first 3 of those 5 minutes goes, I think you might have to move to acceptance pretty quick and just own it.
But
right?
my instinct would be control.
Yeah. What can I do?
What can I do? How can I fix this? There's still time.
Yeah. Coworker sends a tense email and CCs your boss. That, I guess, who's your boss? That's a good question. You?
It's you right now.
Yeah, I guess we're each other's boss. And I'm the coworker,
but
so I guess it's more of a straight send.
But I mean, has this not happened to you?
Yeah, it has.
I mean, what do I do?
It has happened to me, which is why my answer would be to accept it and to not get in the middle. I really try my best to not get in the middle of interpersonal things with other people.
And I feel like for me, 40s is like total radical acceptance about a lot of stuff. And that would definitely be one of them.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I would find it a form of dysregulation, to be honest, that they were dysregulated. And as I get older, I realize how toxic dysregulation is and how it always comes back to bite you in the ass. So, like, send that email, CC my boss, and I'll accept it as you will the consequences.
Yeah. Your kid melts down in the middle of Target. Relatable. I mean, I would say control. Control.
All hands on deck.
It's hard for me to accept moments like that. Like, it's real hard.
I don't think I'm out of that phase, and I never did it. So I never was able to.
A client goes silent after what felt like a great meeting. Geez, is that one familiar? I say hopefully accept. I mean, I think that's what we've been doing is like, okay, well, like maybe it's not the right time for us now with them, but like, what can we do to hopefully stay engaged with them and to show them that we could be their choice in the future?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's an accept. You just have to accept it and like accept the gut feeling of pain and then move on.
I think it's an act of acceptance too, like a sense of like, okay, because of this, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to bring to the table? While also not pushing them and accepting their decision, their autonomy, their agency in this. It's like both are true at the same time. For the last 5, do you want to read them? And sure. I mean, we'll still go back and forth just to mix it up a little bit.
Okay, Lori, you feel your jaw clench after what you thought was a good meeting. Or duh. Okay, Lori. You feel your jaw clench as you read a message.
So I can already tell you that I'm going to be trying to control that situation because that is one of my signs that I am trying to control. That is a sign of dysregulation for me. That is a sign of like trying to get in front of it. And again, not always the wrong tool, But if that's happening to me, I can go ahead and say I'm definitely trying to control the situation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. My jaw is where I hold all my tension, so I know that that's a signal that like I am dysregulated. So I know I immediately try to control and I want to be reactive.
Yeah.
Okay, Lori. Leadership changes priorities after you've already started the project. Huh, this has happened a
Uh,
lot in our last year. I
yeah.
don't know what leadership is, it's us, but
Yeah.
control,
Acceptance.
avoid, accept.
Acceptance on that. Because the reason, I mean, probably with some level of like pushback and clarification, and
Yeah.
again, more of an active acceptance. But in this mind, like leadership means that like I'm not the leader, so I'm not necessarily emotionally invested in this. So okay.
I'm with you. Like, okay, accept
Yeah.
it. If you were that passionate about your priorities, you should have been the leader. I mean, like I'm with
Yeah.
you. I can't like you gotta beat to the marching orders. Okay. You get critical feedback that you were not expecting.
So I'm going to say accept on this. But it's not easy. And this is something I work a lot at. Like this is probably one of the things I'm most proud of is how far I've come with being able to receive feedback because there is an art to that, right? And the biggest part of the art is just not shutting it down or just regulating it as soon as it comes to you. I this is something I've really worked on. So I would say accept, but it wouldn't be easy. And that's, I'm not perfect either. So, I could see myself struggling as well, either probably avoiding difficult feedback, if anything. But I really do try and lean into accept.
I loved reviews. I mean, the one thing great about having an internal negative dialogue that you had to work generation or decades to get rid of is that I've always hated myself and my performance more than anyone else could. And so I feel like when I get critical feedback, even if I'm not expecting it, I am the first to accept it because I unfortunately my brain's wired to find what's wrong with me. And if someone's willing to tell me, I like lean in. But I'm not sure it's healthy. But at least it's regulated in the moment.
I mean, I think
Okay, Lori, this is a good one. Your Wi-Fi drops during an important Zoom call.
control
Control,
as
yeah.
much as I can control. Yeah. Yeah.
Activate, action.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Okay, and then this one. Someone cuts you off in a traffic light and you're already late.
So I actually think avoidance for me is the right one for this because a little bit of a temper when it comes to driving. And I've really had to teach myself how to chill it out a little bit because I learned that the only person it negatively impacts is me. So I think I would lean into just avoid, just like whatever that happened. And I guess that is kind of a form of acceptance of just being like, that's not worth my time. That's not worth my energy. But there's a line there, right?
Yeah, I would accept. Although, I don't know. I guess it's not. That's another one where I can't say I would accept. So I guess it would be avoid because when I say accept, I would just accept that they're jerks, which isn't really acceptance because
Yeah.
that's still
Yeah.
carrying resentment. So it's avoid. I would just probably avoid psychoanalyzing how pissed I was at the situation.
Yeah. It's just a blip. It happens. Like,
Yeah,
whatever.
move on. Mhm.
You'll forget about it in an hour anyway.
Yeah.
Crimson, I'm going to give you 788 points for being honest about the fact that there are some situations that you struggle to accept.
Lori, I'm going to give you a 900 points because you basically didn't avoid 9 out of 10 scenarios.
It's true. It's true. It's true. All right.
Well, Lori, I think this week we've done a really good job of realizing that with this world, with uncertainty, with people being flakes, with the challenges we deal with in our social life and our work life, all we have to rely on is ourselves. And part of that is that we need to feel worthy. We need to feel worthy to be in the rooms that we're in, and we need to feel worthy of making the decisions that we have the right to make. And the biggest takeaway for me is a lot of worthiness comes from the act of radically accepting what's happening. And given the macroeconomics, the macro politics, the micro day-to-day lives that we live, having a radical acceptance of those things that you cannot control is a pathway to how to navigate accepting that you have to let go and radically accept, like authentically accept the injustices, the uncertainty, the trauma, whatever it is. It's a really hard pill to swallow, but much like coping skills that we present every week, it's about getting the reps in, and it's about doing it authentically and genuinely and hardwiring it. And once you do see the benefits. And when you can radically accept, you can feel worthy to be where you are.
Absolutely. I want to add one more thing to your list, which is that when we radically accept our own worth and the worth of the people around us, the worth of really any human, get rid of so much work and mental gymnastics that we do every day to justify why others have worth or why we don't, or vice versa. If you're looking for something to get a little bit of emotional energy back, make sure that you radically accept your worth and every human's worth. And then you don't have to have that conversation with yourself ongoing. Just nip it right into the bud. That's all for this week's episode of the Emotional Endurance Movement. If this poked something tender in you, good. That's usually where growth lives. Before you scroll away emotionally, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and follow us so you don't miss next week's episode, and join our weekly survey so you can be part of the Emotional Weather Report. And please, please know that you're not alone. We're doing this work to help everybody take a little bit better care of their mental health in small, fun, meaningful ways so that we can all work to better support ourselves and each other in this very dysregulating times. We'll see you next week on the Emotional Endurance Movement. You bring your feelings and we'll bring the games. Bye.
Peace out.